We're now going to look at Community Recreation Assessment Task 8. In this assessment task, you need to plan and deliver a group team building activity. So different to the earlier tasks, 2, 4 and 6, which were more revolved around fitness, this activity is going to revolve around team building. So you're going to be in groups of 3, so collaboration is going to be required in this activity. Your assessor, you'll meet with your assessor and he's going to provide you with a scenario. And the scenario is going to describe the group, which is the stakeholder. So the group they might give you might be a sporting team or a business team, but whatever it is, the scenario is going to describe a group that's in need of team building and team development. So if you have a look here, the activity should be designed to challenge and encourage. These are the things you're going to be trying to encourage or build as part of the activity. So have a close read through there. So as described below, you're going to meet with your assessor, who's going to be simulating as a business manager or a sporting team manager, who'll provide you with a scenario and the needs of the group. You then need to research a team building activity you want to implement. And again, the team building activity needs to be aligned with the needs of the group. From here, you need to develop and submit an activity plan. Now the activity plan is going to be somewhat similar to what you've worked on before, but it's going to have the goals of the activity, based on the group's needs, the staff required, so how many support staff do you need? So is the 3 of you enough, or do you need to get other people in to help run the activity? Equipment required, this is going to be a big one as part of team building. Do you need ropes, hats, stepping stones, safety equipment, etc.? Transport required, financial requirements. So is there any cost involved in either from a transport point of view or to buy equipment? If there are some costs involved, you need to speak to your trainer or assessor about that. And then the activity plan. So for it, you've got the timings and the instructions of the activity need to go in here. So as it says here, you must have your trainer acting as the manager sign off below that the activity below satisfies the goals of their organisation and participants. So here you're pretending that you've gone back to the manager after you've planned it all out and say, this is what we intend to do. Do you agree that this activity is going to satisfy your needs? And you get them to sign off here. So the manager's signature is going to become the trainer and assessor's signature. From there, you need to look at the team building activity and how it's going to develop, group planning, effective communication, and so on. So if we look back at the assessment task, you'll remember that we were looking to develop all these things. So in here, you're going to put in a summary. It might only be 10 to 15 words of how each of these things is going to be developed as part of your activity. So from here, we've got feedback provided to participants. So what was the feedback you provided to them at the end of the session? And what feedback did you receive back from the participants at the end of the session as well? So again, a summary in here, that might be 20 to 30 words and 20 to 30 words there. Now that you've developed the activity plan, you need to prepare for and deliver the activity to fellow class members. So during the session, you need to take notes on team development. Now this is important because later you're going to do a debrief, and normally in a debrief you talk about examples of team building that you saw during the activity, things you noticed and things that they need to work on. So you need to take notes during the session. Now if we go back to our activity plan, you can see during this section where how this activity promotes this component. Okay, it also says include an example from the observation of the activity. So you're going to go back in here and say, okay, this is what I noticed. This is where listing skills. I saw something about listing skills I can discuss. There's an example of effective communication I saw, and so on. So while watching the activity, you're going to take a note here about the various aspects of team building and group cohesion so you can discuss it later on. So your trainer will be looking for 2 things here: how the activity promotes the various components of team building, but also something that you noticed during the session. Next, you need to hand out feedback sheets. So as you can see, it says develop feedback sheets and distribute to the group. So we don't provide you with the feedback sheets. You need to develop them yourself. Your group does. The feedback sheets need to include suitability and safety of the facilities and equipment, content of the session, structure and content of the activity or session, and the progress of the participants. So that's going to be how the participants progress through the session. So they're going to provide you with feedback on that. So for part 7, you need to prepare a report for the stakeholder, the manager of the group. So remember from the start of the assessment task, it is your trainer that is pretending to be the manager of the group. So basically you're putting a report back to him to say, okay, we've run this team building activity. Here's a report back on how we think it went and some things you need to work on and some lessons learned as part of running the activity. So we've provided you with a stakeholder report you need to fill in. Again, this is for the manager. So put the names here of the people in your group that delivered the activity. Activity outline, summarize the activity that you delivered. Outcomes. So for outcomes, you're going to talk about the performance of the group, some of the things you saw, some of the positives, some of the negatives, and areas for improvement of the group. This is where you're going to make some suggestions to the manager on this is some things they can continue to work on, and here's some areas for improvement for the group. So you might say, listen, they're not working well enough together. There's two individuals that aren't communicating very well, and so on. So that's what's going to be under areas for improvement. Again, with this template, we're looking at probably 20 to 30 words for each of these sections. After completing your delivery of your team building activity, you're then going to need to participate in other class members' team building activities as well. So for this task, you're going to be both delivering, but you're also going to be a participant. And as it says here in part 9, there's an observation checklist down the bottom. Now the observation checklist, become familiar with this and the different points that are in the observation checklist, because this is what your trainer and assessor is going to be assessing you against when they observe you delivering the team building activity. But also some of these checklist points, especially down the bottom, relate to how you participated in the session as well as a participant. Not when you were delivering it, but when you participated in it. So this assessment task has an observation checklist with it, but also you're required to upload documents. So as it says here, you're required to upload your activity plan, which we spoke about before, which is here. Yeah, stakeholder outcome report, which is here, stakeholder outcome report, your team building activity plan, which is up the top, and 2 times feedback sheets. Remember, we don't provide you with a feedback sheet. You have to develop your own feedback sheets and have them uploaded as part of submitting the assignment. So this is a major assessment task, as you've seen. There's a lot that goes into it, so you're going to be given a fair bit of class time to both prepare, but also it's going to take a number of classes to deliver all these team building activities across your groups. But this is an assessment task you'll get a great deal out of. In regards to planning and delivering a session like this, you'll develop lots of skills that can help you in regards to leadership, organisation, motivation, and communicating to groups. Due to the fact that there's 3 people in your group, your trainer will also be watching closely to make sure all members of the group are doing their fair share of the organising and facilitating of the activity.